With the business, it's challenging in a way that the family is something that will stay with you no matter what, if you do things right. With business, I wouldn't say so. When I grew up, my father used to have a business, and I remember that he did few mistakes and he lost the business, but he was working very hard and he didn't spend with us as much time. So I'm very conscious about that I don't want to kind of overdo it on a business side, because something can happen. The big competitor can come, whatever can happen with the business. The business is something that might kind of disappear or whatever can happen. But then the family is something that you really want to make sure that you're constantly checking in, because that's something that will stay with you forever.
Matej Varhalik's philosophy is about embracing the journey, not focusing on the destination. And when you've immigrated from Slovakia, revived the business, appeared on Shark Tank, and represented Australia in handball, all in just a few short years, you can see why. Learning from every win and loss along the way, Matej has truly embraced his journey and isn't slowing down just yet. His business, SpeedFit, has 22 locations across Australia and is still growing. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with Matej, and I hope you enjoy this episode as well. So yeah, just to start, how are you doing? How's life for you?
Very good, very exciting. I mean, we are at a really good stage in terms of the, I would say, my personal life as well. Really settled in Australia, and business-wise as well. Studied 8 years, so all the hard work that we are doing kind of slowly getting out of this, like the base.
Yes.
So we can really scale up the business. So yeah, really exciting about this. So enjoying the time now.
That's awesome. And I understand your name is pronounced Matej, right? So it's Varhalik, is that right? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, it is that way. Matej Varhalik, yeah, you did well.
Varhalik, yeah, okay, not too bad. I gave it an itch at the end, which wasn't right, but that's okay. So you are from Slovakia originally. So tell us a little bit about that. And did you meet your wife, Susanna, there in Slovakia?
Yes, we both are from the same city. It's the second largest city in Slovakia. To give you perspective, Slovakia is a small country in Central Europe. The size of Melbourne, actually, the population-wise. So it's only like 5 million people. And our second largest city is 250,000 people. So really small city compared to what we have here in Australia. And yeah, we met there many years ago, I would say. We actually next month celebrating 10 years, we're celebrating the 10 years of wedding anniversary.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, we met there and we came to Australia first time, I think in 2008, when we wanted to have a break from life. In a way, because I was running the businesses since I was 20, 21 maybe. And then when I finished the university, she finished the university, we thought, okay, let's just travel for 1 year and
so
see
you were running businesses while you were studying, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So you have a business background in Slovakia, but you mentioned that Slovakia is quite a small country as well. So I imagine from an economic standpoint, it was very different. Business over there is reasonably different. Is that true?
To a certain degree, yes, you're very correct. It's a different market. Obviously, it's a much smaller market. So that was challenging. And I was in very different industry. I was 20 maybe when I was working for one company which was selling like special electric products, like a surge protectors.
Yes.
And that company bankrupt in like 3 months or something, and everyone get laid off. And I just went to our distributor and asked him if he wants to continue the business, because I know the guys and I could run it for him. And that's kind of how it started. But the scale of the business is definitely smaller. And obviously the economics are also very smaller. So I know this is not about the money, but at the end of the day, when we came to Australia, and I used to drink like 5 coffees or something a day, and it's €1 a coffee. Wow. And then, because that's what they do in Europe, like small espressos, €1 a coffee. Yes. And then we came to Perth, and it was like $5 for espresso. And I was like, wow, I can't survive to pay $25 a day. That's just,
it's robbery. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Now if you go decaf and you go lactose free and the rest of it costs you $10. So So what sort of business skills do you feel like actually translated when you moved across? Like what sort of things do you think you learned over in Slovakia that you really found useful in your application in your new business, which it's not so new, but we'll talk about your business in a second.
To be honest, I believe that I learned much more about the business here, to be honest, because of the scale and the level of business you're doing. And I feel in Slovakia, it was more kind of a hustle. Like you have some sort of like a product, you're selling them, but it's not like really big structure of the company because the size of the market is smaller. You need to have really good product or really scale somewhere when you actually have a team of people. So the businesses I had back in Slovakia was more kind of me and my business partner, couple of employees here and there. Then I went maybe to 20 employees, but more kind of like, I would say casual employees. So I probably what I learned in Slovakia or what I knew is like really working really hard and not giving up. And I think that's something that I learned in my sport before anyway, because I used to play sport on like professional level. And I think that was the basic for whatever you're doing in your life, like pretty much just really push through and don't give up. And that's kind of how I translated into my business in Slovakia. And that's what I think kind of saved me in Australia, that we actually made it through to the pain point when we were kind of almost giving up and we came on the other end. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So there's two things here that we're talking about with the actual the sort of migrant work ethic, the gratefulness for being in Australia and wanting to like really get somewhere, I suppose, and then on the other side of it, this sort of analogy with sport, and I've thought about sport a lot as well, and the consistency between sport and business, and the idea of only focusing on what you can control, one step at a time, visualization. What sport did you play, and is that true what I'm saying?
100% agree with you, Joe. Like that's exactly, even when we're recruiting people,
yes.
that's where we look at the resume as well. If we see that someone has a background in the sport, doesn't need to be like high level, just the sport, and have that understanding there is not everything happening for you in a day one, but there is a process in place, and you only repetition makes you better. That for us is a fundamental to really get a good team going. So 100% agree with you. I used to play handball, or I still actually play. Officially, I'm still actually part of the Australian national team actually, because I get a citizenship 2 years ago.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, I played kind of decent level in Slovakia. So, and because of handball is not as popular in Australia, I was good enough to make it to the team. So yeah.
It's a super interesting sport. I've watched it before, and I thought it's quite unique actually. Okay, so that's great. Well, tell us. I mean, I think it's important for you to introduce the business SpeedFit and how you came to sort of establishing such a very unique, different type of business.
It is very unique because we're using that unique technology in a way. I came across the technology back in Europe when I injured my back, because I mentioned I used to be professional. And after I finished the career, I started to focus on a business because I was very hungry for a business success. And then you forgot about fitness. I gained a bit of weight. I wasn't as fit as I used to be. And I injured my back quite seriously. And then my physio told me about this technology. And I've seen similar concepts in Europe, especially in Germany. This kind of technology and the concept is quite popular. And when we opened the first location in Slovakia, I just kind of felt like I would like to design around this technology the business that serve people like me, like pretty much business owners or people who have much more important stuff in their life than the fitness, but they still consider that fitness is important and they would like to be reasonably fit. I don't need to have a six-pack. I don't need to run 100 meters under 10 seconds, but I still want to be attractive to my wife. I still want to run around with my kids. I still would like to, look decently, but the business success or spending time with my kids is always much more important for me than spending hours in a gym. And that's kind of when I saw that as a ideal combination, that's where the business idea kind of started.
And so what does SpeedFit actually do? Like what if I was to come into one of your studios, what would happen?
We will. It's a good question. I've never been asked that way. Like, what will happen? Like, I hope you'll say, I hope you'll say good day. And
yes.
in the first place, but pretty much it's like a micro studio. It's like very boutique environment. It's not like a big intimidating gym. Yes. Our typical studios will have like 80 square meters. So it's very boutique, very niche. You kind of walk in. And pretty much we'll greet you with a pre-workout drink. So make sure that you have enough electrolytes for yourself for a session. We provide you with all the exercise garments, so you don't need to bring anything with you. That's how I kind of visualize the business around the the comfort that when I didn't want to do all this washing and carrying all the bags and so on. So pretty much all the exercise gear is there waiting for you. So we'll provide you with all that stuff. We'll get you to the change room. You put the special garments on you. We got like a non-slip socks. As I mentioned, we'll give you that pre-workout drink. And then we suit you up to the like special, I would say like a vest and some straps of that kind of have those electrodes that pretty much comes on your skin or on your body and stimulates your muscles. So your trainer will guide you through the exercise for 20 minutes, and it's like a low impact exercise. There's no like heavy, like you don't lifting any weights. It's like a personal training without all the weights. So we do like a lunges, you do like a squats and things like this, which helps you to activate the muscles even more. And then after the 20 minutes, we'll pretty much give you post-workout drink. We'll get you you have a shower, you have fully equipped showers and everything. So pretty much you can get yourself ready and just go back to your life, to office or whatever you need.
Do you see this as a long-term sustainable option for people that want to be healthy, or do you see this as being something transitory, more temporary for people maybe who might be overweight, who might have back issues for temporary periods of time and can't exercise, and use your studios as a way of bridging them over into exercise? How do you see it? What's the market?
Very good question. I think actually both, because that's what we see. Like you have some type of people who kind of say, look, that's what I want. I want to be stronger. I want to be fitter. I want to carry out the groceries, for example. Their goals might be completely different, and they just want to kind of be reasonable fit, and SpeedFit does the job for them 100%, and they will not do anything else. But then you have people who are, as you mentioned, for example, out of the shape. They might even, we had even clients who were kind of embarrassed to go to the gym because of the shape they wear.
Yes.
And we've done the sessions with them, we've done the program with them for 6 months, for example. And after 6 months, they said, I'm actually about to leave. And we're like, oh, what's going on? Like, you have amazing results. We get you what you wanted. It's like, now I feel like I can join the gym. And we're like, but really? And they're like, yeah, now I always wanted to be part of the community, but I just feel like I'm not fit enough to be part of it. So you have a bit of both. I would say majority will be kind of using SpeedFit only as a one thing, or maybe they're using something else as well. If they, like, for example, I like to play handball. We have people who play squash or golf or some sort of other like activity, but the SpeedFit will be probably their only strength session in their regime.
This technology cannot be mobilized at home. Is that right? Or what stops people, taking it home and doing these types of things?
It's kind of like when the principle of the technology is almost like what you've seen in those TV ads in the 90s when you have this belt on your stomach.
Yes.
So
yes.
It does actually work, but it didn't do really good job for us because it's kind of, people feel like, it's a fad, it's like not, it's a gimmicky thing.
Yes.
So it's actually working. And to be honest, because of the COVID, there is a lot of groups, or there is one company that I really work closely in Germany and Switzerland, and they now developing technology to use it at home because of the COVID and impact in Europe. Obviously, all these gyms had to be closed. But I think at this stage, the EMS technology is probably where the lift used to be. Like when you use the first lifts in a buildings, there will be the lift boy operating the lift for you.
Yeah.
So and then we kind of evolved, and now you can actually press the button. So maybe when we look like 10 years plus, probably you will be able to, or maybe even less, you will be able to use it. But I believe it's almost like when you can have your own gym equipment at home, or you can have your own reformer Pilates. It's just not that service. You're not going to push yourself.
Yes.
And most of our clients actually laugh about the SpeedFit, that if you have a little bit of issues with motivation, because you need to have really strong will to come to the gym and push yourself to physically actually do the repetitions. What is amazing about SpeedFit is that the technology will do it for you if you like it or not. It's just going to happen. So you're coming there and you know that 20 minutes is going to be amazing session every single time you come. How many times you went to the gym and you were like, nah, it's not my day. You just push a bit of a thing. Or, with SpeedFit, it can happen. I've seen the client, he told me, like, for me, SpeedFit is like a dentist. It's painful, cost me a lot of money, but I know I have to do it. And I was like, wow, this is really, really good to say that way. But yeah.
No, that's awesome. So EMS is electronic muscle stimulation, I imagine. And given your back issues, you found this technology in Slovakia, correct?
Yes.
And so you brought this and ran with it in Australia. It must have been quite a challenge to uproot your whole family and come here and then, just put this technology together and back yourself in. I mean, it must have been quite a significant challenge.
100%. Like obviously, when we talk about the visualization, I didn't see it coming that way.
Yeah.
I thought it's gonna be like so sweet. We just come in, everyone's waiting for us. We will tell them, hey, this is what we're doing, and people will be queuing outside and expect and kind of getting in. Obviously, that didn't happen. So to give you a bit of background, we were quite comfortable in Slovakia because of my businesses, and I got my first daughter born. I was 28 at the time, and I felt like I'm not challenged anymore as much. And I always, because of these economics, I always felt like to having business in such a strong economic country like Australia would be amazing. Because if you have successful business in Australia, economically, you can be pretty much good money-wise everywhere around the world. If I was running very successful business and in Slovakian economy making good money, when I came to Australia, I still feel like I'm poor guy.
Understand.
So that was one of the motivation as well. I was like, how can I actually do it in Australia? And our first concept or idea wasn't actually move to Australia. We only thought we're going to invest money to Australia. And I had a business partner at that time, the guy I met, Roland, when I met him in Australia when we were traveling, and we become a business partners, and he's supposed to run the business. I was supposed to be just the investor. But we came to the point when we invested that much money and it was not working that we had to relocate here to save the investment and make it work.
And in that relocation as well, I understand that there was a process of you actually having to undergo studying English and all of that at the same time. I mean, it's just incredible. I always think about, my father was from Egypt. He came here to do the same thing. And I always look at my own life and I go, I don't really understand how difficult that would be. I can't even conceptualize, but could you give us a bit of an idea about some of the challenges that were there for you in moving from Slovakia to Australia and then having to not only run a business, but also, do the stuff that is necessary, like learn the language?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, I will start with the language because that's a really good point. I consider myself knowing the English because I've been here and I studied English. I underestimated the difference between the touristic English and business English.
Yeah.
So I knew how to order a coffee, but then when we started to, especially when I was starting to make phone calls, that was a big shock for me. Like I couldn't understand people in Perth over the phone. I was like, that was shocking for me because I couldn't see their lips. I couldn't understand what they're talking about. So that was the first challenge for me to understand actually the proper English and also the writing emails in a business language. I remember Roland, my business partner, he was translating for me. He was a Slovakian as well, but his English was amazing. So he was for first probably year. Actually, I will send him email in English. He will correct it and send it back to me. And that's how I learned how to do it better. So language was the first thing. Second thing, obviously visa, like immigration thing in Australia, it's something incredible that you don't think about. And because our ideal or our vision was to just be investor and come to Australia maybe as a tourist once a year for 3 months to just travel and enjoy the money that we made. We didn't think about moving here. So pretty much when we came here, I realized I need to get myself some sort of visa. There was no option for any PR or anything like this. So I had to sign myself for a student visa and go for 2 years to school, which you pretty much need to attend the school for at least, I think twice a week. I was coming from 9 to 5. So 2 days pretty much you're writing off, just sitting in a school, just to tick the box. And that was pretty much 2 years paying the school fees, going to school, all the distractions from the business, and trying to kind of hustle through that you're kind of working outside before and after the school and everything between.
I suppose there must be a bit of frustration as well. Like, that you can do it from a business perspective. Your mind is sharp and you're ready and you've got the experience, yet there's the need to translate that and there's the need to be able to communicate that. And I suppose in a way, learning English slowed you down in a way, but it was necessary to speed you up.
I agree. On the other side, I admire the Australia that has such a strong immigration system because it's kind of forced to attract only the sharpest and really you need to go through something. So I love like anything what is challenging and it's worth it, in my opinion. So that's what I love about Australia as well, that if they let someone coming in, you usually need to meet some sort of criteria and that's kind of set you for, like maybe success in a way. So on the other side, I like it, but it was very challenging. I agree. Like it was slowing us down. I was coming from the position that I already had successful businesses in Slovakia. I had my first daughter. I didn't even imagine myself sitting in a school, in a classroom with other guys who were maybe like 20 and they just kind of wanted to cruise around Australia. And I'm trying to kind of sit there and was like, no, I'm here to make some serious business. Come on, guys, let me out there. Yeah.
You talk about successful businesses in Slovakia, but in seemingly every time I speak to any successful business owner, there's a time where things don't go so well. So the global financial crisis, can you take us back to that particular point?
Absolutely, it's amazing, painful memory.
Sorry. I don't want to get back past traumas, but
no, don't worry. No, it's actually again, like everything in life, I think it was happening for a reason, and it's the way how you react on things. So to give the perspective, I was in real estate business back then, and in 2008, I came here for a 1 year kind of travel and study in Australia. And at that time, my wife was just my girlfriend. I was kind of well off in real estate. I even invited her here. I paid for her for a full year. I paid up front for myself. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just cruise through Australia and that's it. And it was October 2008. I got probably like 16 apartments at that time by myself and things like this. And pretty much, I think in 30 days since we landed here, the things starting to happen. And I lost like 95% of the net worth. And I was like, look, okay, we are here in Australia. Let's enjoy what we've got here. Let's go back to jobs. So we were like cleaning, doing like retail jobs and stuff like this just to get by for a year. But looking back, I think it was the best time to actually be here in Australia because we were really then coming back to like a student life, just enjoying this beautiful country. Otherwise, all my business partners back in Slovakia were stressing out because of all the financial crisis. I just took it as it is. And I was like, look, when I come back, I'll start hustle again. And I'll eventually get back. And that's pretty much what happened. I came back 2009 after 1 year and things just started to happen much better for me. And money-wise or business-wise, we pretty much went back in 2 years and we even went much better than we used to be before. So
I imagine it would be easy to become a little bit negative and woe is me during those particular times and almost not push yourself on the other side. But you somehow compartmentalized it. Pushed it aside and said, I'm here now in Australia and I've got to make the best of this situation, and things just worked out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will recommend everyone to do that because time will show as well, not stressing out as much about it. And what it gives you as well, when you go through things like this and then you made it up, like you kind of make it at the end, you feel like anything will happen in the future, you just go like, that's okay, I will be all right. You know, the same thing like with now the COVID comes. I remember when then you need to kind of really step up as a leader, and usually I let my team to kind of run a lot of things, but when the COVID came, then I kind of went, okay, now is the situation for me to kind of take things into my hands and show them, hey, let's be cool, we put things in a place, but we'll be all right.
Now I know you've mentioned Susanna, your wife, a few times, and I understand that she's involved in the business, and this is a kind of family business kind of podcast. So tell us a little bit about her role and how you guys balance life and work and raising your daughters. It must be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, that's a true challenge.
The
true challenge. Yeah, like I love it. Like the family business is amazing, and I originally studied business with me and and my business partner Roland. So, and Susanna was at that time with our first born daughter, and then we had straight away a second one. So she, for first 3 years of the business, she was at home and kind of just observing what we're doing and giving me the feedback. Her background is not business; she's actually mechanical engineer. And that's what I probably needed, someone to have to keep me in a check. And she's like this exactly. So I think it's really good balance. So after 3 years, she started to work with us. And it was like massive support and part of the business since then, pretty much taking care of all these things what happening in the background of the business to whenever you need to have some repetitions, whenever things needs to happen constantly, she's kind of that person that can hold everything together and make sure that it's happening the same way again and again. Because I'm more like kind of out there in a thing. So
you're more are you saying sort of like you're more visionary and kind of thinking about the business's future and then, you know, she's more sort of micro detailed and thinking about operations and process and things like that? Is that the...
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm like that. I can get a business up and running from the scratch, but then I need to have people behind me to kind of still managing things like this, and that's her absolute strength. So now it was amazing to have her next to me. And also you see, like, we go through the journey and we were kind of kicking some serious goals, and she felt like she's kind of left out as well. So when she joined us, then she realized, wow, actually I can enjoy it and I can see that I'm part of this as well. So that kind of gave us another perspective in our partnership as well. But as you mentioned, it is challenging, because then, you know, how you she's the boss at home, I would say. I'm boss at work, and I'm happy to admit it. I'm like, kind of like, you know, at work you are like this, and then I go home and I see my two daughters and I was like, that's okay, girls, do whatever you want. Like, I'm like it's exactly opposite. You're kind of compensating from what you do at work, that you need to be sharp and making decision, that in home I'm trying to kind of cruise. So yeah, that's, to find that balance, it's very challenging, I would say. But we kind of find it in a way that it's now getting to the normal way.
How do dinner table conversations not just happen about work all the time? Is there, and, you know, and when work is stressful or pressure, does it come back at home? You know, like, how do you manage the communication side of things?
Unfortunately, it happens, and it's probably because we are both so passionate, and we are both like really ambitious in a way as well.
Yes.
So it's naturally kind of in our house, it looks like this, like we come home and that's finally we're talking about something. So we need to remind ourselves, hey, it's a family time. Talk with the kids about things, and don't bring the work up. Otherwise, it will happen just naturally. But as you go, you learn that it's not as needed, and we just kind of try to bring it back to office. Yeah, I wouldn't say that we are the best working couple there as an example because of that. Yeah.
And in terms of your daughters as well, and making sure that you have enough time to spend with them and all of that, how does that work? Because I know that with business, it just has this gravity to it, doesn't it? Where it just pulls you away sometimes and you get lost in it. Have you ever felt like you're just too far one way and you've just lost a little bit of perspective?
Constantly, to be honest, constantly. Like, it's never ending, like finding the balance. Like, you kind of, because when you're so passionate, you're completely right. Like, you're so passionate about the business, you want to create something, but then you also see your family and you're also so passionate. So it's kind of like, you know, finding that balance. And what I usually do, I really work really hard, but then I always find the time for the great holidays. And we will go quite often. Like, I will go probably 4-6 times a year at least for a couple of weeks, and then I will just kind of turn off and will be just with my family. And that's the way I'm trying to kind of give them back. Because with the business, it's challenging in a way that the family is something that will stay with you no matter what, if you do things right. With business, I wouldn't say so. Like, when I grew up, my father used to have a business, and I remember that he did few mistakes and he lost the business, but he was working very hard. And he didn't spend with us as much time. So I'm very conscious about that I don't want to kind of overdo it on a business side, because something can happen. The big competitor can come. Whatever can happen with the business. The business is something that might kind of disappear or whatever can happen. But then the family is something that you really want to make sure that you constantly checking in, because that's something that will stay with you forever.
Yeah, and I'm assuming, I'm sure of this, that the part of the reason that you're passionate about the business is that it is impactful to the family too. So there's no point if it's making the family a challenging environment. So I imagine. So no, that's cool. You know, I know that you mentioned, you know, you moved here as, you know, to Australia for economic reasons. But you also have discussed that there's lifestyle aspects that were important to you as well. Could you talk to us about the activities that have meaning to you outside of, you know, your work?
Yeah. I wouldn't say actually that economics was like the major decision. I would say the lifestyle was always the thing. As I mentioned very beginning, our original goal was to kind of make enough money that it will pay for us for 3 months to come to Australia, because we just love the country. Yes. We obviously in Slovakia, actually it's called almost like a Melbourne. It sounds as bad as it is when I'm thinking about it. But yeah, we have like, you know, like it's cold. It's actually colder. It's actually colder. Sorry. Yeah. So it's colder, you know, and it's dark. We don't have the ocean and so on and so on. So for us to growing up, and Perth is just amazing place when you can see that you can have this white sand, amazing ocean, and you still can have amazing opportunity to work wise, the great universities and so on. So for us, it was ticking all the boxes. So the lifestyle was really important for us when we came here, and that's what it stays. And now pretty much that I feel like we're living our dream. Like, we have house close to the beach, we have a pool. Like, for us, growing in like communistic country in the middle of the Europe, kind of seeing this on TV and kind of dreaming, like one day I would like to jog on the beach when it's a sunset behind me, and then you look back and you're like, wow, actually I can do that. Yeah.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Living the dream. It's great.
Yes.
So a bit of a cheeky question, because I feel like I know how you might be able to answer this one, but in your business, have you ever deferred short-term financial gain in the pursuit of something more meaningful?
Oh, in my opinion, probably like almost like that's kind of the bigger picture thing. I'm really bigger picture guy. Like that will be probably the balance between me and my wife. She will like, come on, it's time to kind of bring some cash home as well. And I'm kind of that big vision guy. And I always trying to see, like, for us, the fundamentals is to make sure that the clients got the best product possible, the best service possible. If he can have added value, we'll add the value all the time. If someone will complain, we don't collect the cancellation fees or things like this. Like if we see there is some sort of reason for that behind, we'll always waive that. So I will say, like, almost every time we do things like this, when we have the employees and they want to have some sort of upskilling or anything like this, we will never say no. So for me, I see that business is kind of like this, like life as well. Like you shouldn't just kind of cut corners and kind of try to look at short-term thing. It's a bigger picture. Obviously, you need to have some sort of KPIs to make sure that you're doing well, and profit is kind of, just kind of shows that the results of what you're doing and that you're doing your job well. So you need to have that as well. But I would say, in my opinion, we're doing a lot of, especially me, almost every time we're thinking how we can reuse the money, how we can make better decisions long term rather than just the short term.
I'm just really interested in this particular point in time in your life where you're on TV, you've got an offer from the Sharks, and you're looking and you think, it's a fair bit of money here and a fair bit of expertise that's coming my way, but nah, I'm not doing it. I'm backing myself in. I was watching that on YouTube, and I just thought to myself, this is a guy that knew that his business would win out in the end, and that he was going to prove it. And tell us a little bit more about your time on Shark Tank and what actually happened.
Probably your point is really good. I love challenges and love to be like, kind of, okay, I'm going to prove you it's good, because there were a few comments as well, and we're like doubting if we can execute the business and so on. So that was one of the challenge. I don't know, like we really went there, kind of get the exposure, because when we were really small business here in Perth, we had difficulties to even get the tenancy. Like I remember we went to one building and we wanted to sign the lease, and the landlords told us, I don't think so, you guys are good business. I think it's like a fad. So we don't even sign a deal with you. So you're kind of having that experience in your business, and you go, okay, we need to really make sure that people know what we're doing. And for us, the goal was to really go there, present what we're doing, and get the Sharks say yes, like we want to invest. For me, that was the point. That was just to prove them that this business is actually the valid business, and someone, because I respect a lot the guys on the Shark Tank, and I was like, if these guys will say, hey, I want to invest to the business, I was like, that's what we need. We need to have someone who will say, no, I want to be part of this.
So it was like a process of validation for you. So you've put
Absolutely.
it out there, and you're saying, what do you guys think? And they're saying, yes. Whereas a couple actually said, no, we're not sure if it's a fad or not. How did that make you feel?
I need to admit that I'm the guy who kind of hear what he wants to hear. So probably I don't even remember that. Probably like I'm really like focusing on, and I think it's a good thing as well. Sometimes I just focus like I just look and I see only this happening for me. So it is a challenge. If you see someone says that, hey, I don't think so, you guys can execute, or I think it's a fad. We took it as an opinion, but because there were 5 people and you got offers from 2, we still considered it like amazing win. Because that was the worst thing could happen, will be like, sorry, we're not interested, guys. Like that will be the worst outcome. So the moment they said they're interested, for us, we were there with Roland, we felt like, okay, the mission is completed. We've kind of proved our point that the business is really good. The technology does work. There are sharks who are wanting to invest. The money-wise, we didn't even had the plan when we went there, to be honest. Like we just kind of made up some number and say, how much we feel like our business is worth, whatever, put some number, go there. We didn't have like super cool strategy. So I don't want to play like, we knew what we're doing. No, we didn't. Like pretty much, we just went there. We were so excited that we can actually go there and talk to them. And what happens, what you see there, like you see it on YouTube, it's probably like 10 minutes or something. realistically, we were there for 2 hours, usually like 45 minutes, but because they were training as well, it was 2 hours. There was so much negotiations. We didn't even want to kind of discuss this deal because we felt like we are so far away from what they're offering us. And I remember we saying, okay, so that's it, we're leaving. And then the production came and we're like, no, guys, take your time, think about the offer, go to tunnel. So there's a lot of things that were happening around it as well. So experience-wise, was amazing. From business point of view and negotiations, they knew who we want to have as a partner. So I think they use it also in their advantage. And that's how it's kind of, when you see Jen and Alice was kind of commenting that we will be like almost like stupid to not take the deal and so on. We told the producers before that we want to make a deal with her. So there are a few things that is happening in the background that people don't see. And that's why it's kind of structured that way. So in typical business negotiation, you will not have kind of that advantage. The other party kind of know that you want to make a deal with them, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So do you regret now not making the decision, or are you you comfortable with the decision that you made to forego the help, I suppose the expertise that comes with it, but the actual financial side of it as well?
From decision point of view, 100%, I'm backing myself up, and we didn't feel at that time that it's the right time to do it as well. From expertise point of view, I think that someone like Janine will bring so much expertise and probably will be maybe somewhere further. But where we are now, we are super confident, super happy. We're going to have about 30 locations by end of this year. Like when we went there, it was 5 locations. Like the journey is just kind of amazing. And we went there with really kind of go there, learn the processes, rather kind of slowly build the business, making sure that all the economics are right, all the franchises are happy. And that's what I feel like it's much more sustainable business in a way. So no, very happy where we are and what we're doing.
That's great. So how do you define your success, and is success financially driven on the most part?
To a certain degree, it is financially driven, but I would say for me, success is when you can do what you want to do, and you can enjoy it while you're doing it. That's kind of how I see the success, because success means different for me, different for you. So it's really hard to put some sort of amount of money on that. And that's why I don't see it like as far as I can kind of really enjoy myself and be passionate what I'm doing. And I see that every day counts for me, and I'm not just kind of going through the days. That for me means everything.
By that definition at the moment, would you say you feel successful?
100%. I just love it. I love my team. I love what we're doing, the impact we're making on communities, like the business that it's not just the business in a way, we're really making a lot of people feeling better, getting stronger and so on. So that impact is amazing. I'm challenging myself because every day I need to learn something new. My team challenging me because they're always demanding more. We're growing as a business. My family is also challenging me, and it's amazing to enjoy them. And I have the girls now in the amazing age, like 9 and 6. It's just the best age, and I just love it. So
That's awesome. And have you ever lost connection with that feeling of success in the business, where you just feel like you haven't got it quite right?
To be honest, yes, I did. Maybe when we were 4 or 5 years here, I felt like it's just too much or not going anywhere. Like I strongly believe in visualization, and I will visualize like, okay, we're going to have a lot of locations. We're going to have a lot of team. I'm going to have a business in Sydney, and I'm going to fly in and I see the Opera House and I see the bridge and all these things. And then we had the business in Sydney, but it wasn't profitable. Then we had the people, but it wasn't working. So sometimes you need to kind of visualize maybe more exactly what you want, not just kind of like in a few things. So I came to the point that I was like, okay, I feel like I'm kind of not where I want to be. And then I just went back to kind of basics, listening to the right music, reading the right books, finding some challenges and goals, and just find the thing again and pretty much overcome it and continue with the thing.
So it sort of sounds like you were a bit at a particular point in time lost as to what your prime motivations for doing it were. Is that what it was?
Yes, that's how I felt like that. Like you're pushing many years, and I think it's okay to talk about it and have that understanding as well. It's not always like sunshine and you just go and like, now this is perfect. I was in that time. I remember I signed myself for Tony Robbins thing in Sydney. I just wanted to kind of work on this fire, and I took my wife. I think that gave us a lot of boost as well.
Yeah.
And then also I kind of tried to look outside of the business as well, and I look at the handball, and there was a Asian championship happening in handball 2 years ago, and I was like, okay, I'll try to make myself to the national team. That will be amazing thing. So I try to kind of work now on these things outside of the business, and because I went back to the process, I found that motivation there, that kind of transferred back to the business, and everything started to happen again.
Hold on, I love this point. So love this point. So basically you're telling me that you were working hard in the business, but as soon as you took a step back and you started to think about things and do some other things as well, so you went and got back into your handball, that actually helped you and rejuvenated you and gave you the drive to come back to the business and really, really go for it.
100%. Exactly, that's what happened. Exactly. Yeah.
That's like an amazing insight that I think people need to hear, because a lot of the time we get stuck, don't we? We get stuck in our silo, well, at the moment I'm in Melbourne, I'm in lockdown, so I'm stuck in my room all the time. But we don't want to be stuck in our silo. Sometimes we actually want to go and experience other things, and those things that we experience, whether it be through sport, creativity, music, other things, do come and make their way back into your business in a really profound way. And so that's really cool that you had that experience.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Sometimes you're trying to push too hard. And I said it's a hustle and you need to kind of not giving up, but sometimes it's better to kind of step away, do something else, and the thing will just comes together. The time will be right and just come back, and it's just much more efficient.
So I know you've done a fair bit of work devising this part ownership model for potential interested partners. Could you explain a little bit about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's again driven kind of how we can grow. Again, not just as a business, but back to people. The similar way, like we trying to help our clients to make to be stronger, fitter, and so on. We've seen there is a huge gap between having the franchisee who already got the money and then have amazing people working for us, but not having actually enough money to kind of own their own studio. So we've seen this as an example for a few of our guys who are just so good that we didn't want to lose them, and we wanted to kind of get them into the franchise. So we work out a deal that pretty much you can buy up to 49% of the business as a wall, and you working in the business as a studio manager as you were, but you also owning almost half of the business. So it's kind of like entry level for a franchise. You can operate it with us. And
so they own so when you say the business, they own their studio. Is that
yes, pretty much. Like they will own half of their studio. So when we're talking about the location A, they will own 49%. So 49% of the profit comes to them as their shares, as the profit, and they're still getting their salary as the studio managers.
So they've effectively, as an owner, it's not a franchise situation. They are really getting equity, and they've really got skin in the game.
100%. Yeah, it's pretty much your business owner, but it's decreasing the level of entry, because a lot of our guys, they will not put together, like wall studio will cost you probably $200,000. But if you want to do this partnership model, then you can start with like $50,000 to $100,000 and get equity in the business.
And I know that you do have some pretty significant growth plans. So I'm aware of you opening up new studios. So could you tell us a little bit about your growth at the moment?
Yeah, so we were fine-tuning those systems. So when we back to the Shark Tank, we had 5 locations, I think, at that time, and we said we really would like to drive the business to. We said, I think at that time around 200 locations. That's still the plan. Kind of around 180, 200 is like a sweet spot where we can see, based on our current operation, that this is the market in Australia where we can kind of take. So we were slowly kind of scaling up the business. This year we're opening almost 10 locations. So we should finish this calendar year on 30 locations up and running. And then we kind of building now the team, because the size of business then allows you to get a greater team as well, because we need to make sure that we have enough support to execute everything correctly. And then pretty much every year from there, we would like to add more and more locations all the way to our goal.
How many locations do you have in Melbourne?
3.
Oh, okay. And which sort of areas?
So one is in Brighton, one is in Prahran, and one in Melbourne CBD.
Okay, very interesting. Great. I feel like I need that particular solution right now while I'm actually talking to you. So just tell me what keeps you up at night and what's still to do?
That's just a never-ending thing.
Where do I start?
Yes, the list is just growing and growing. And I think that's something probably from the sport point of view, when we discuss about the sport and how kind of that gives you the structure. I look on the business almost like on my career as well. And almost every financial year is like a season for me. And I'm trying to look what I can do better, like how we can improve the business. So it's, and more, you know, you want to do more, if that makes sense. And more funds you have, the bigger businesses is, more you can afford to do. So in terms of like anything from clients services, the client journey, anything what is this related, it's just never ending list. Like we always fine tuning, we're just changing the look and feel of the studios, we're trying to improve the technology, we're doing new exercises, we're creating a new CRM system that can really create like automations of all the communication. So yeah, from that point of view, it's never ending list. Yeah,
it's another thing that's quite consistent with our guests and that we speak to, obviously, that they, you know, I think of Aaron Smith as an example from KX, who talks about the Kaizen, I think it's called the Kaizen
yes.
Philosophy, and just this constant and gradual and refinement and improvement and evolution and innovation that just goes on. It's almost like it will never ever stop. And I think
I love the Kaizen. I love KX and Aaron personally. I know him. We went together for a few things regarding the franchising, and I think his journey is amazing, and it just proves exactly that philosophy just works.
Yeah, for sure. And what would you change about the business now if you could? I mean, there's probably a few things, but
I don't even know like what I would change. Like again, like we have a lot of improvements that we want to do, but I don't know what I will change, to be honest. I will kind of make it happen now, and we have 175 locations. And
okay, that's a good answer.
And that's it. Put to the future, and then just go like, okay, here we are. Yeah.
And if money didn't matter at all, would there be anything that you'd change about your life right now?
Probably I will now work slightly less. I need to say that I'm kind of working now extremely hard.
Yes.
So maybe I will slightly, because I'm doing ridiculous hours, to be honest, like it's too much probably. So I will probably go back to normal of like someone's else life, 40 hours a week to kind of scale back. Otherwise, we live in an amazing place. Kids are happy. I'm happy. My wife is happy, which is the most important thing. So not much to change.
That's great. So, you know, on your wife and your kids, you know, what do you see as being, what does leading a family actually mean to you? When you say leading a family?
Leading a family, I think that to show them the possibilities in life, challenge them and show them that anything is possible as well, I think is a big thing for us, because we're coming from that small country as well. And my wife always referring like she never knew that this is actually possible to come and have such a life. So for me, that's kind of my role for my kids and for my wife, to wanting to provide for them the security, but still kind of challenge them. So it's not like, hey, you have given everything and you don't need to work hard, but also show them that they are really capable of anything if they will be working really hard and really wanted to do it. That's
an awesome message. I think, you know, having you on today has been really inspiring, because, you know, I know as a son of a migrant, my father, you know, toiled and worked hard and was very, very grateful when he came to this country, and he could see a lot of the opportunity that it presents. And I can see that running through you, and I really appreciate it, actually. So it's nice to have you on, and it's nice to hear about a very innovative business. And it's also very nice to see that you stood firm in your beliefs around, you know, what your business was worth and what you wanted to do there. And so thanks for coming on. But I'd like to finally finish with the question that I ask many of the guests at the end is, what spirit animal would you be and why?
Wow.
It's a question. I need to hit you with that beforehand, don't I?
Yeah, more from English point of view as well, because I need to understand what spirit animal is.
It's just like, you know, the animal that you would think you connect to the most, why you would feel that it resonates with you, whether it be the king of the jungle, the lion, or whether it be whatever it might be.
Okay. If it's just I'm actually Scorpion in a zodiac thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of people tells to me like I'm in that way, like I'm kind of really, really cool and I will work hard. But if someone's kind of betrayed me or something, I kind of like really snap back. Yeah. So
you got the sting in the tail.
Yeah, exactly. So for that's defined me in a way that's the way. But yeah, so I will go with that probably. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining.
No worries. Thank you so much, Joe, for having me.
No worries.
I hope that this one was enjoyable to listen to and there were some moments of value. If you have resonated in any way with the sentiments of this podcast, we would be delighted to direct you to our website, www.itsneveraboutmoney.com.au, for more free resources and education aimed at improving your capacity to make sound financial decisions for the benefit of your family. We wish you every success, however you define it.